Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to call the meeting of the Richmond City Council for March 14th, 2022 to order. May I have a motion on the minutes? Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. That brings us to agenda additions and deletions. I don't believe there are any. Madam Clerk is not right here, so. So that gets us to the presentation. We'll call on Magnus Sinclair, the coordinator from the Parks Program, to present the street banner unveiling ceremony. Magnus?
Thank you, Your Worship. I believe Clerks is going to share the presentation this evening with us, so I'll just wait for them to bring it up on the screen.
When I do that, I won't be able to see my councilors.
Well, you still need to do it. Yeah, just stand by. We're just getting the technology sorted out. Looks like we're going ahead. Magnus, can you go ahead now?
Certainly. Good evening, Your Worship and members of Council. Tonight, I have the privilege of presenting to you the winning designs for the City of Richmond's 2022 Street Banner Program. This program is an initiative of Partners for Beautification, a community engagement program which encourages Richmond residents to become actively involved in creating a vibrant, beautiful community. The city supports grassroots community involvement in its street banner program by encouraging residents of all ages and abilities to submit their creative designs by way of an annual street banner contest. The entries received in the banner contest celebrate the places, activities, and experiences that make Richmond beautiful and unique. This year, over 550 submissions were received, all original images reflecting one or more of the following themes: community, connection, innovation, active living, urban landscape, nature, island city, the arts, sustainability, and wildlife. A volunteer judging panel reviewed the submissions and were faced with a difficult task of selecting 20 designs as semi-finalists. Community members were then invited to vote for their favorite designs on the city-hosted Let's Talk Richmond platform. I'm happy to say that over 6,500 votes were cast over the 13-day voting campaign, and the top 10 designs with the most votes will be unveiled tonight. Furthermore, beginning tomorrow, all of the 550 designs that were submitted to the Street Banner Contest will be available for viewing on the City of Richmond Street Banner Contest website so that all of the artists that participated in the contest can be recognized. The banners you see tonight will be installed in select areas of Richmond City Centre and major gateways throughout the city starting next week and will remain on display until February of 2023. Following in the footsteps of last year's virtual unveiling, staff were fortunate to be able to engage in a photo shoot with our contest winners. The photo shoot, which took place in Richmond's Gary Point Park, presented an opportunity to celebrate the winners' achievement and to recognize their contribution to the Street Banner program. Each artist received a full-size copy of their banner and access to the photos taken during the photo shoot. Furthermore, an honorarium was sent to each winner to further recognize their achievement, and they're all watching tonight on the live feed from the comfort of their own homes. We will now recognize each artist by viewing photographs of the design taken at the celebratory photo shoot and sharing their thought process on their design. Our first image for this evening's ceremony is titled Bumblebee at Work and was designed by Crystal Chan. Through this design, Crystal pays tribute to all the hardworking bees that pollinate the city's plants, fruit trees, and flowers. As pollinators, these creatures collect pollen and nectar to help plants grow, reproduce, and make food. Sometimes, if you look close enough, you may spot some pollen stuck on the hair of bees or in their hind legs in pollen baskets, which indicates the bee is providing much needed pollination services from plant to plant for nature as a whole. Crystal encourages residents to keep an eye out for these furry friends on their foraging trips next time they visit a garden or park in Richmond. Congratulations, Crystal, and thank you for your contribution to the Richmond Street Banner program. The next banner of the evening is titled Idyllic Flight by Jody McDonald. Jody's design includes her 3 daughters, which were also able to attend the photo shoot and was coincidentally also taken at Garry Point Park. The image celebrates the fact that after many failed attempts to launch their kite, they were finally able to get it in the air. Her family spends a lot of time at Garry Point Park, and it was the first time they launched the kite successfully, so it's become a special memory. Congratulations, Jody and family, and thank you for your contribution to the Street Banner program. The third banner of the evening, titled Return of the Snow Geese, was designed by Paul Liam. As the sun was setting in early spring, Paul did not expect such a spectacular show of wildlife. The return of the snow geese migrating through Richmond onward north along the west coast. He kept photographing flock after flock as they surrounded him while he was on a walk along the Middle Arm Trail. This area in particular was just a little plot of green fields, and Paul feels it's important for Richmond and their citizens to have a balance between their urban environment and the wildlife that lives there, which he experienced in this moment. Paul continues to appreciate all of the beautiful wildlife that can be found across the city and is proud to have a banner that reflects this notion. Congratulations, Paul, and thank you for your contribution to the Richmond Street Banner program. The next design is titled Passion and Perseverance and was submitted by Megan Smith. Megan took this photo on an overcast day in Richmond in the early autumn. Minoru will always hold a special place in her heart, and she wanted to embody this essence in the photo that she took. The vantage point is from the grandstand looking out onto the Minoru track, where a woman is running and behind her on the turf, a soccer game is underway. Her goal was to capture the variety of activities that Minoru Park has to offer, and she's participated in some of these activities as well. She was largely inspired by her history at Minoru as a dedicated track and field athlete who has trained and competed here for many years. Congratulations, Megan, and thank you for your contribution to the Street Banner program. The next design of the evening was submitted by David England and is titled To and Fro. David is a 40-year resident of Richmond with a passion for photography. In his images, he endeavors to reflect the unique beauty, diversity, and human emotion that we have in our city. David's image for Connection was inspired by the new upgraded portion of the South Dyke between No. 2 Road and Gilbert Road. The image shows this space shared by people and cyclists. Moreover, he feels it illustrates how well the plantings, river, and path blend together to provide a wonderful space to experience. He feels it captures the essence of people and the environment connected. Congratulations, David, and thank you for your contribution to the Street Banner program. The next design of the evening was submitted by Nicole Chan and is titled Blooming Heritage. This was Nicole's first time visiting the International Buddhist Temple. She was reminded of the architecture of temples back in the East and felt a sense of nostalgia. When Nicole came across this section in this image, she knew that she wanted to capture a vertical image to include the red leaves at the front of the building and the roof looming overhead. It was great timing as the sun was setting and illuminated the underside of the top roof. Autumn is Nicole's favorite season, and the colors in this image remind her of this special season. Congratulations, Nicole, and thank you for your contributions to the Richmond Street Banner program. The seventh banner of the evening is titled Moored for the Day and was designed once again by David England. David found inspiration for the Island City image in Richmond's nautical roots. Richmond is a city with a long history of living around and on the water, and David feels that there's no better way to reflect this heritage than with fishing vessels at rest in Houston Harbor, which reflects Richmond's storied legacy, which successfully continues on in our island city. Congratulations once again, David, and thank you for your contribution to the Richmond Street Banner program. The next banner of the evening was designed by Felix Fruing and is titled Sunset Flight. Felix is inspired by the opportunities that licensed and permitted drone photography present. Being able to explore beyond the dike from the air in order to see the angles that are not often seen can reveal structures that people don't even know exist. The seaplanes are a dynamic addition both to the photo and the daily skies of Richmond. Felix is proud to get the chance to contribute to new views in Richmond with his banner. Congratulations, Felix, and thank you for your contribution to the Richmond Street Banner Program. David Wang designed our next banner, which is titled Blue Harvest. This photo was taken during David's family's annual summer event of U-Pick at the local blueberry farm. The photo represents a celebration of Richmond's local agriculture, as well as the healthy natural environment that David feels is important to sustain for generations to come. David feels it is important for blueberries and blueberry farming because they are one of Richmond's great attractions, and he is proud that his banner will be displayed across the city. Congratulations, David, and thank you for your contribution to the Street Banner Program. Our final design of the evening is titled The Salmon Run and was designed by Grant McMillan. Grant and his wife regularly walk around Steveston Village and the nearby dike areas, and he always takes his camera because of the many photo opportunities presented along the way. During this particular outing, they spotted a new wall mural of an underwater scene of salmon spawning. His wife moved close to the beautiful mural to examine its detail while Grant took several photos. The sun was in just the right position to highlight the colors. Grant felt that everything came together and resulted in the sensation that they were in the stream along with the salmon. Congratulations, Grant, and thank you for your contribution to the Richmond Street Banner Program. At this time, I would like to conclude the 2022 virtual street banner unveiling ceremony, and we would like to thank Mayor Brody and councillors for your continued support of the City of Richmond Street Banner Program. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. As usual, those banners are really terrific. They symbolize Richmond in so many different ways, so many colorful ways. So I would like to thank all the applicants who submitted pictures and artwork to the contest and offer my congratulations to the successful entrants. I'm looking forward to seeing all the applications on our website because I know from experience how dramatic they are, and it just epitomizes how very difficult the choice must have been to pick out the only 10 winners. That's all you can have. One question of you, Magnus. In past years, samples or one of the winning banners of each of the winning banners has been displayed in City Hall. And now that we're planning to reopen City Hall, will you be able to display those as usual?
To your worship, yes, indeed. We will be installing those ones next week, early next week.
All right, well, that gives us all something to look forward to. Councillor Wolf, you had a question?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Question to Magnus. We received a memo on this on Friday, and there was just one line in there I wanted to ask you about. It says that throughout the month of March, they'll be installed in the city centre and along significant gateways. So my question is about significant gateways. As the council liaison for Hamilton, in the past they didn't have the right type of structures where these could be put on. Do you know if they will be included in this round?
Through your worship to Councillor Wolf, at this time they have not been considered for banner installation. We were not informed of their installation until very recently. However, there is an opportunity if we have extra banners at our disposal to install them as part of this round.
Okay, thank you very much.
Magnus, that should be a priority for you if you can get some extra banners and make sure that they are installed for obvious reasons in the Hamilton Centre. And of course, what Councillor Wolf meant was that he's the liaison to the Hamilton Community Association. All right, so may I have a motion to resolve in a committee of the whole to hear delegations on items on the agenda? All those in favor, opposed, carried. So we have two delegations, and as usual, in order to be a delegation to items on the agenda, you must pre-register. So we have two parties. Tamas Ravochi, both are on item 16. Are you there, Tamas? Pardon me if I haven't gotten your name pronounced quite correctly. But
Not to
please-
worry. Thank you, Your Worship. I'm here,
Please,
yes.
please introduce yourself, and you're given 5 minutes.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I'd also like to share my screen very quickly, so I'll do that while I introduce myself. So my name is Tamás Rabóczy. For those of you who have been to Budapest, you'll know that that's a Hungarian name. I'm the new president of the Sea Island Community Association, and we're here today to basically promote the interests of Sea Island and of course Burkeville as well. So anyway, is it okay if I just begin with the presentation?
Could you tell us what this has to do with the Richmond Heritage Commission?
Absolutely, yes.
And the work
So
plan.
earlier, certainly, yes. So my esteemed colleague, our Vice President, Lori Cockrell, who will be also speaking, she and we together drafted a letter with the help of Councillor Steeves to ensure that we are part of the Heritage Commission work program and budget allocation as well for 2022. That's important for us.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not sure if you'll remember, but a while ago we were also we had presented to council regarding the YVR land use proposal, amendment to the land use proposal, and we have some updates since then, which we'd like to tell you about. But really, I guess the place to begin is, I'll come back to that in a minute, but the place to begin is that as most of you who know the origin story of Burkeville, you will know the actual birthplace of Burkeville is actually not item number 4 here, which is shown below here as Burkeville, but it's actually item number 3, the Boeing Airplane Company production plant in the South Terminal. And of course, the unfortunate, or the way things have evolved, maybe it's not unfortunate, just how things evolved, that is now on the other side of the fence from us now. And so that's a part of our heritage which we're kind of literally cut off from. And so we'd like to try and make sure that is incorporated into the heritage work plan, and we are basically would like to include that. So in essence, the reason this is important is because we recently have been making inroads with the YVR leadership, and we recently were speaking with the director of planning, and she made it very clear that YVR's post-COVID and general development strategy is to definitely look at this Area 6, the South Terminal area. And at the same time, since we were speaking with her, she was basically interested in trying to find out how we could also work together and find mutual benefit. And that's the other reason, is that's the reason we really need to make sure that we really assess and understand what's happening here, so that we can be very clear about what we would like to see and how we would like to preserve the heritage that we have. I mean, really, our goal is to try to really thoughtfully, carefully protect our little hidden gem of Burkeville and develop it so it really becomes a polished, kind of a shining example, a crown jewel of what really can be done with robust and effective cooperation and collaboration between good neighbors to the east and to the west. And so with the Sea Island Community Association, that's really what we're trying to do. Is we have our focus on Burkeville, but the truth is, everywhere in our Constitution, it always mentions Sea Island. So we really should be looking at all the residents of Sea Island, past, present, and future residents of Sea Island as well. So I think that's really all I was going to say, because I don't want to take up more than 5 minutes that I'm allotted, and I'm open to questions and comments. And I think also my, Lori, who will also speak, she will talk about other parts of this as well.
All right. I'm a little hesitant to go too far into questions on this, frankly, because we're talking under number 16 about the Heritage Commission. So we've got a couple questions, but I'm going to go to Councillor Steeves first. I'm asking you to ask about the Heritage Commission as opposed to one specific heritage area. Councillor Steeves.
Basically, what the problem we've got right now is that Burkeville, well, Sea Island in general has been ignored over heritage for decades. And what they really need to be involved in is on page 261, where the Heritage Commission is a stakeholder in the Heritage Inventory Update. And Sea Island Society needs to be one of those stakeholders.
Councillor Steves, this is for asking questions. By all means, when we get to the consent agenda, you'll be free to talk all about that. Unless
No,
you've
I'm
got a
just
question.
explaining why they're here.
Well, I understand, but again, I think that's for when we get to the report on the agenda. So we'll come,
Okay,
we'll hear from you on that. Councillor Day.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mayor Brody. I'm wondering, given this is really not completely about item 16, the delegate brings up a very good point nonetheless. Can we refer this to staff to ask them to work with the delegation and the Richmond Heritage Commission to do a study to see how we can better save the heritage of Sea Island?
Well, the letter will be in the hands of staff. So that's basically already done. It's the letter from this particular delegate and the next one. So we're already there.
So maybe we could just ask for an update later on.
Yeah. Councillor Wolf.
Hi, thank you. First off, can the screen share be stopped?
Certainly,
possible?
yes, of course.
Oh, thanks. Sorry, just a real quick comment, and if you had any follow-up.
Is there a question? That's all you're going to do now, is ask a question.
So I'm the council liaison for the Heritage Commission. So when we have our next meeting, April the 6th, I think it is, would you be available to come to a Heritage Commission meeting?
Honestly, I haven't got my schedule in front of me, but it is a very important invitation, and I would be very happy to accept. I'll make certain I'll be there. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, so just record that down, April 6th, and you'll probably be in touch with staff on that. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor Wolf, you might refer that to the chair, because that is, in essence, the role of the chair of that commission, as opposed to the council liaison. Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, thank you, Worship, through you to the delegation. You mentioned Burkeville quite a bit. It started in 1941. Have you and your group thought of going back to 1861, where the start of Richmond took place? I find that, if I may, to you, and I agree with everything you're on, because I've been commissioned by the Heritage Society, or Historical Society, to write a book on Sea Island, which is almost
Just
finished.
questions, please.
So my question is, would you be interested in going back even further in your heritage sites, as opposed
Very
to
much
just
so.
Burkeville itself, which came about as the war and the Boeing factory?
Absolutely. And just for the sake of brevity, I kept it to just 1941 forward, but you're absolutely right, Councillor McNulty. Our community center is a barn from Ernest Cooney.
That's correct, yeah.
So we would love to explore that as well, but again, I didn't want to focus on that side of it just for brevity for our meeting here today. But yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
well, thank
Yes.
you for that, because I think that's as important, going to the Heritage Commission, in that, Your Worship, we talk about Steveston from the early days, and whoever, Councillor Wolf is the liaison, we should be going back right to the beginning of Hugh Boyd's farm there, so I'd be prepared to share my material with them as well.
The next delegation is Laurie Cockrell on that same item.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes?
Excellent. Okay, thank you so much. Great conversation. And I look forward to the day when we have Burkeville banners outside my home. We want to win one of those banners and have them up in our community too. So thank you very much. I really appreciate being given the opportunity to speak to the Heritage Commission. So what we are looking for is, as Tomasz was suggesting, is to work with our most immediate large partners, which is, of course, yourself and YVR. We, unfortunately, are our giant neighbor. We do need to have a relationship with them, and that has improved immensely in the last year. But what we would really like is an integrated approach to history that includes Burkeville. So Sea Island is large. It has a long history, as Councillor McNulty has referenced, blueberry farms, big farms. There's First Nations heritage here. And yeah, dairy farms. And one of the concerns that we've got is if you look at the history of Burkeville, it's a history of loss. I mean, there's big industry and there's light to medium industry that's kind of encroaching on us. And that's not a new story, and that's not a new story for most neighborhoods, but there is some pretty immense history here that I think needs to be preserved. Aviation history, agriculture history, history of the Lower Mainland, YVR. We've got Ward 1 history. We've got some pretty amazing history here that I think we need to take a collaborative approach. And I think, if we do it on our own, it's not going to be professional. It's not going to be great. It's going to be small. I think there's a bit of a piecemeal approach right now, and we would absolutely love to work with the Heritage Commission to make it beautiful, as Tomasz was suggesting, right? We can be one of the jewels in Richmond's crown. And I think it wouldn't be a hard thing to do, because if you look at all the aviation nerds that sit at the end of the runway here, I mean, there's people who flock here, even when there's almost nothing. So one of the concerns that we have is that there has been a lot of loss. The growers, they've lost it. There's the Seabright Dairy. The farms are gone. The canneries are gone. We've lost Cora Brown. So we don't want to lose what Burkeville is within the jewel of Sea Island. So that's kind of all I wanted to say, tagging on to what Tomasz has already said. So
Yeah, it sounds like this idea of you attending a Heritage Commission meeting along with Tomasz sounds like that's a good plan, a good place to start. Now, Councillor Steves, you had a comment or a question?
Yeah, well, I got a question this time. I'll take my comment I had before and put in a question. Is your desire, when I raised this with staff a month ago, they said, well, they're doing a heritage study, and after we did the study, then we would talk about Burkeville and Sea Island. And is your desire to be part of the study now, not afterwards? I guess that's the question I've got, to be part of this overall investigation from the very beginning.
I kind of think that makes the best sense, doesn't it? I mean, if we're talking about the origins of Richmond, I mean, the larger community as a whole, and if it's an integrated approach, it kind of makes sense for us to make those connections. And I think any community, when it's isolated, as we are, because we're on an island, we would benefit, I think, from those connections and learning about our other neighborhood partners. So,
thank you.
Yeah, it really does make sense, I gotta say. Councillor Day, you have a question?
Actually, I don't know why my hand went up. I just went thumbs up.
Okay, well.
I see that, thank you.
Oh, I see, it was a thumbs up, not a hand
That was a
up.
thumbs up.
Well, I gotta get my digits straight. Anyway, all right, thanks to both of you. Interesting presentations. It sounds like it's gonna go from there. Now, thank you very much. Now, there's a gentleman here. Sir, you have to register as a delegation in order to speak to council.
Good evening, Mayor.
No.
With due respect, Mayor, on the city website, Richmond website.
With due respect.
A person or organization wishing to be heard on an item which is on the agenda of a regular council meeting may be heard at or near the beginning of such meeting. Written notification from the person or organization is not required in this instance.
All right, well then
Mr. Mayor, I hope you reflect on what is written on the city website and just allow me to briefly speak for 5 minutes, given that I am speaking on a agenda item that is on the agenda. And as it says, written notification from the person or organization is not required in this instance. I'm happy to give my name and my postal code where I live. Why am I speaking tonight?
No, I'm not. Stop.
Mr. Mayor.
The first thing you'll learn is that when the chair tells you to stop, sir, you stop, okay?
Against all rules.
Sir, when the chair chairs the meeting and he determines who speaks when. Now, Madam Clerk, do you know anything about what it says on the website?
Your Worship, there is a section on the city's website with regards to public phone and Zoom participation at council meetings that does speak to pre-registration. I am not familiar which section the speaker is referring to, but certainly, like you said,
presented on Richmond
sir.
City Hall /council process 8.htm. So if you're saying that
Sir,
that's not the rule, then I
thought,
want to encourage
Sir, I thought we went through this.
Process actually is, because it
Sir.
doesn't seem fair, because that's
Okay.
what it says on.
May I have a
on
motion to
the
rise and
website.
report?
I was going to ask a question before we.
No, we're not asking. Sorry?
We're not finished with this previous item, Mr. Mayor, before this came along.
We are finished with the delegations. The next step is, no, we have,
To ask staff to take it at least under advisement to invite the delegation from Seattle to the next Heritage Commission meeting.
oh, I think staff is on this call. They,
No, but I think in the formality before we.
all right, all right.
Delegate, what he's here to delegate.
No, sir, the first thing you have to learn when you come here is you follow the rules, okay? And I'm
the rule
not,
states that
may I have a motion to rise and report?
from the person or
Second.
organization is not.
All those in
required
favor?
in this
Anybody
instance.
opposed? That is carried. Okay, thank you, sir.
Runs roughshod.
Sir, you will not bully your way into this meeting. Is that quite understood? There are rules of procedure, and you're expected to follow them, and by interrupting us, as you have done, is not the way to be heard.
That's
So,
what it says on the council website, so I don't know what procedure or standing.
Thank you.
order or procedure
Thank you.
You're referring to, but it seems very undemocratic.
okay, thank you very much. So no, I'm going to go to the consent agenda, the highlights of which are the receipt of the committee minutes, the 2022 Feral Rabbit update, the Richmond Public Art Program 2021 annual highlights, and the Public Art Advisory Committee 2022 work plan, the 2022 Engaging Artists in Community Program Public Art Projects, the naming of the community center in the Yuanhang development on Number 3 Road, investing in Canada Infrastructure Program Green Infrastructure Environmental Quality Stream Grant application, the award of the contract to Radical.io Technology for My Richmond mobile app development, and an authorization for increase in the award of the contract for supply and delivery of computer equipment and related services. There's a referral response on the investment policy and portfolio review. We have the land use application, which is going to be for first reading, goes to public hearing April 19th. It's the application by the city for a temporary commercial use permit on Beckwith Road. And finally, the Richmond Heritage Commission 2021 annual report and the 2022 work program and budget allocation. May I have a motion to adopt those by general consent? Moved and seconded. Councillor McNulty, your hand is up. Did you wish to speak to that?
A couple of comments on, and I'll be brief on my remarks tonight, obviously different evening. I'm going to be supporting everything on the agenda, and I just want to put a shout out to the public art program that we've got on here and the highlights that we're taking in 2021 and all the good things that have happened in the public art within Richmond. You know, art is in the eyes of the beholder, and it's the heart and soul of our community. But when I see we have 344 works of public art and 192 currently on display around Richmond, and if you drive around Richmond with our mural program and what have you, I think we're second to none. So kudos to all those in the art area, and I thank you very much for how you laid out your work plan for 2022. It's easy to follow and easy to track, and I think you've done yourselves proud, but we've done Richmond proud as well. And just in the public, engaging the artists, again, compliments of the arts, your worship, in dealing with the partners in community involvement, reaching out to various groups. When I look at the groups and that are on the area, and working with the arts is so diverse in terms of areas. And I mean, that's a real thorn or rose in their and feather in their cap to be able to go from everything to food security to fitness, et cetera. So to me, that's good. And I thank them for bringing that forward on it. It's very good. I think people don't realize, your worship, and I hope we get the monies for the infrastructure at Mineral Park. I went for a walk the other day with Walk Richmond through the lakes, and I think I would encourage all council members to walk up through the lakes and into the park to see how it attaches to the hospital, how it attaches to the businesses on the north side, etc. We really need to enhance and refresh those waterways that are there. Tremendous numbers of waterfowl, herons, Canada geese, ducks, and what have you, and other creatures that are there. And I'm looking forward to us doing that. I think it's going to be really upgrade the park and to make it more useful on it and the other thing, Your Worship, with the Heritage Commission, I just hope that the comments we had earlier are going to be taken into consideration by the Commission on behalf of not only the delegation of Sea Island, but for all of Richmond. I think they are one of the hidden gems in Richmond in terms of history, and one of the forgotten gems. Even the $5 bill that went on a number of years ago, Harold will remember that, was a fishing boat from Sea Island and from the Acme Cannery that was on the national $5 bill. At one time it was a photo from, I believe it was one of the Koyanagi brothers boats on it, and most people don't even know that, and it brings national recognition to Richmond, so and Sea Island. And so anyhow, I'll be supporting everything there. I'm trying to make my brief comments, and I take it through the chair that staff will be dealing with that for the Heritage Commission. So thank you for that.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Hobbs.
Thank you, and through the chair. I'll be brief too, and similar to Councillor McNulty, with the public art highlights, I'll be supporting all the items on the consent agenda, but with the art highlights, I just want to express my thanks for the report. I think public art and private art go a long way to helping to make it a livable and desirable city. And it is in the eye of the beholder, as Councillor McNulty has said. The attachment with the strategies on it, I appreciated that. Also, I think the level to which we went to in engaging the public in the following report, I think was outstanding. When it comes to the private development and private art on private property, I just had a question with strategy 4 that's listed. And we went to the Celtic unveiling for that one. And so I take it that would be an example of private art contribution. I wonder if staff could just comment on that, because I've actually found myself intentionally diverting down number 3 road just to have a look at that art because it's so outstanding. And if you could just comment on that one, maybe the details that are appropriate to comment on publicly, like perhaps the cost, the timeline, because I think that's one that people should actually go have a look at because it's gorgeous.
Through your worship to Councillor Hobbs, this piece is called Sea to Sky. It's by Musqueam artist Thomas Cannell, and it was done, it was a private public art project as part of the Celtic development on number 3 Road and Cook Road. Yes, it was recently unveiled. The public art contribution for this work was $400,000. And that included all costs for the artwork, for the consultants, for the artist fee, and any other fees that were incurred as part of the artwork.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it was interesting just hearing about the factory in Germany. I won't go into a lot of detail about that contributed to the manufacturing process. So the last thing on the art is just that when you think about it, why it's important is because when we think of places we want to go in the world and why we travel, art plays a very important role in that, whether people realize it or not. Different architecture, different buildings, art galleries, museums, paintings, sculptures. It's all part of it, and it's actually all to do with art. So thank you very much for that. And my last comment, through your worship, is on number 11. It's the Investing in Canada and the Infrastructure Grant to do with Minaroo Parks and the lakes. That is actually kind of a hidden little gem in Richmond. I'm not sure that everybody goes there too often. We've gone there for decades with our kids and now with our grandchildren, and we've had wedding photos there, and it's just an outstanding place. It's very, very pretty, maybe not in weather like today, but it's very pretty most of the time. And I was super impressed with the integration that is in the report to do with rainwater and detention ponds and the stormwater drainage and how that will contribute. And the potential for the grant, I think, is almost 3/4 of the cost. So that's a really good opportunity to take advantage of grants. Just one question on that. When I read it and when I looked at the actual diagrams of the park, I was just curious, will the changes with ponds and drainage change the actual footprint of anything significant in the park in terms of larger lakes, smaller lakes, an additional retention pond? I got the impression it kind of stays the same in terms of the footprint.
To your worship, to Councillor Hobbs, this is Jason Chan from Parks. The question is, the answer is no. The footprint of the Lake District would be the same. The lake surface area would be slightly decreased, while the depth would be slightly increased.
Okay, well, thanks. Yeah, that's an excellent, excellent project. So thank you very much for that. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Steves, we'll go to you. Make sure when I interrupted you, make sure you get those comments in.
Yeah. I'm really, really pleased that the Burkeville people were able to come tonight, because it's really the forgotten history. And what I wanted to point out was we have a tremendous new board on Sea Island. They've been sort of disorganized for years, and this board has got their act together. They've been meeting with the airport, they've been meeting with everybody in sight, and they know they've got a rich history, and they want to put it together. And when they heard about the Heritage Commission investigating and the city investigating history, they want to be part of it. And I think it's something we really need to move on while we've got that kind of interest. So many different things. Councillor McNulty will be able to add to all this, but one thing that I remember is that during the war years, the school wasn't built by the school board. It was built by the Boeing plant and the Air Force. And after the war, the King gave us the school, and not to the school board. He gave it to the city. So it's quite superb that we actually owned a school, and I don't know how the King got it and got to give it to us. So that's the way it went through in terms of the donation of the school. And as Bill said, the history goes way back. It was basically one of the first areas in Richmond that was, well, it was the first that was farmed. And then, of course, we had while Little Island was called Richmond, or Little Island and Sea Island was called Richmond, we had two post offices. One was Eburn and one was Steveston. And Eburn was the area where the Brower store was and some of the stores across the river. And Eburn went as far south, I think it was Blundell Road, and Steveston went from the river at the south up to Blundell. And the rest of Richmond, there wasn't even a Richmond post office. So it's a really, really rich history, and I think we should really, really work hard while the interest is there to bring that part of our history together, because no one's ever done it before. And if Bill's writing a book on it, it's just the right time to do it.
Well, Councillor Steves, I've got a question for you based on what you just said. If the King gave the school to the city, at that time, were all the schools owned by the city as opposed to a separate school board?
No, everything else was owned by the school board. We ended up owning one school. And I'll have to dig it up. I did the research on it about 30 years ago and wrote a column on it. I almost got fired by the school board.
Well, does the city still own it? We must have given it over at some point.
I'll have to check and see. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe this is an opportunity. Who knows? Okay.
Yeah, right.
Thank you. Councillor McPhail.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will be supporting all the items on the consent agenda, and just want to speak to a couple. Number 8, Richmond Public Art Program 2021 Annual Highlights and Public Art Advisory Committee 2022 Work Plan. Thanks to staff for the report, which provides highlights of the 2021 Richmond Public Art Program and the proposed Public Art Advisory Committee 2022 Work Plan. The City of Richmond has a robust public art program, and the examples in the report showcase the scope of the program, from the mural program, community engagement activities, private development, public art program, and so much more. Thanks to the Public Art Advisory Committee, who advise on all aspects of the public art policy. Following that theme, the number 9, 2022 Engaging Artists in Community Program Public Art Project. This year's Engaging Artists in the Community Public Art Program creates opportunities to support a diverse group of artists with a range of practices in socially engaged arts. The 3 projects selected with community partners, Richmond Fitness and Wellness Association, Turning Point Recovery Society, Emergency Response Center, and Urban Bounty, address social isolation and promote inclusive communities, environmental sustainability, and equitable opportunities for people of all ages to access and participate in the arts. And all of these are so important and so relevant today as we come out of COVID. And I just want to thank the arts community, which has really rallied and supported our community through these last couple of years. And number 16, the Richmond Heritage Commission 2021 Annual Report and 2022 Work Program. Thanks for the report, which highlights the areas the Commission provides support for activities that benefit and advance heritage in Richmond. And thanks to the Heritage Commission, like the Public Art Advisory Committee, members are volunteers and give generously of their time. Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rao.
Yeah, Your Worship, I'm going to support everything on the consent agenda, but I have questions to ask on one particular item, number 7 on the rapid control. Now, it's concerning that the rapid population is not declining despite the programs that we have in all these years. So I have 3 questions. The first one is, now obviously the population of rabbits is still growing because people release them to the public grounds. And I know that we have signs, on the parks telling people not to feed animals. But I believe there's no mentioning about not to release or to pick up animals from public grounds. So I just wonder how effective those signs have been in terms of reminding people not to release the unwanted rabbits to the public grounds.
Through Your Worship, to Councillor Al, we do have signs that prohibit or inform residents that feeding rabbits is unlawful, but we do not have signs indicating to residents that dropping off your rabbit in a on public land is not appropriate action and not a responsible one. So that is something we could certainly look at.
Yes, that would be great, because I know that on our website we mentioned that releasing rabbits to public grounds is not legal. However, I think we do not put up public signs to remind people of that. So I think it's great that if we can do that. And secondly, if somebody wants to adopt a rabbit, how can they do it? Because from the report, it's mentioned that rabbita, they can trap and house rabbits, but I believe they're not supposed to make these rabbits being adopted. So I can imagine that people might see the rabbits and they may think, oh, if I can have one, but they might know that it's not just for them to just pick one and then go home, right? So if somebody wants to adopt a rabbit being rescued, so how can they do that?
Through Your Worship, to Councillor Al, there are many not-for-profit groups who are operating in the space who rescue rabbits and do offer them for adoption despite the guidelines.
So can we strengthen that part of the program so that people who like to have a rabbit, can do that through the program?
For Your Worship, to Councillor Al, the BCSPCA, together with the Richmond Animal Shelter, will be offering domestic animals that we will have in our care at the shelter for adoption that will be spayed and neutered and have all their vaccinations up to date.
Does that include rabbits?
Through Your Worship, the Mayor, yes, it will include domesticated pet rabbits.
Okay, good. My final question is about the study that staff recommended on page CNNCL 43, staff talks about there will be a rapid management study. So I want to know what will be the timeline, how long will it take to have the new management strategy study be completed?
Through your worship to Councillor Au, our goal is to complete the study and report back to council in the fourth quarter of this year.
Great. Yeah, I think the sooner the better. I think we, as I mentioned, since the population of rabbits is still growing, so I think we need to have new strategies and effective measures as soon as possible. So I would like to have the report as early as possible. Thank you.
All right, Councillor Wolf.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll just touch on that same item that was just discussed first, then I just have a few other brief comments. So that was item number 7, the feral rabbit update. Council received a letter on Friday, and in it included the 8-slide presentation that we received at Parks and Rec. So even council members that weren't at the meeting have a copy of it. But in the letter from Rabbitat, the presenter, she asked about it being included in the update. Like it wasn't referred to in the report, which fair enough. You didn't have the presentation, so why would it be in the report? But it wasn't included in the minutes of the meeting, and I thought maybe that could be a place where it would be. And then when I read the report, it mentions that there's a copy of the file that public can see at the clerk's office. So can staff comment on how the information shared in that presentation will go towards the investigation that's ongoing?
Through your worship to Councillor Wolf, we certainly will take Rabbitat's report under advisement and incorporate it into our studies as it fits.
Oh, okay, great. Then, yeah, so there won't be a need to make any amendment to this. It's received. Staff will go forward with. So that's positive here. Thank you. Just want to speak on a few other items. The item number 14, which is the referral response for the investment policy and portfolio. Really pleased with the discussion that was had at the Finance Committee meeting of this past one, which on our pages 232, 233 go in depth about the environmental, social, and governance standardized approach to investing. Some that have been informed from the recent United Nations Climate Conference, and even included in that, in the pool of investment funds, there is language in there about fossil fuel-free short-term bond funds and others. So I think that it was a real positive direction that staff have for our investments. And then I'll leave it at that. I'll just, one other comment. I don't think I heard what the hopeful delegate was going to speak on, but it's kind of tough to approve a consent agenda when there was a passionate member of the public who wanted to say something. So I don't know if they had something about the consent items, but I did vote against the Rising report because I wanted to hear what they had to say. So, thank you.
Councillor Wolf, the very foundation of these council proceedings is that people follow the directions set, and the chair is the arbiter of those directions. And I don't plan to get into debates or arguments with constantly being interrupted by someone who wishes to impose their ways on this council. So we'll go to Councillor Liu.
Thank you, Worship. I too will be supporting everything on tonight's consent agenda. I'll be brief. I'm also in support of the public art, and I'd like to thank the Richmond Public Art Advisory Committee for all of their hard work. It's been exciting to see how much public art has come into Richmond over the last number of years. And there is a map on the city website to find all this public art. It's richmond.ca/culture/public-art/collection, and then there's a location map that you can click on. You can walk around city center and all kinds of other places and see where all of this cool public art is located. I'd also like to make a comment about the engaging artists in community programs, public art projects. As been mentioned by many of my colleagues already, just how good this program is to engage the community with artists. And one of them in particular is Turning Point. They're going to have an artist in residence at their emergency response center. And this person will be working on printmaking, digital storytelling, drawing, and photography with the people who are staying at the emergency response center. And I think this is really a great idea to expand the artist in residence program beyond the usual places that we have these kind of programs, and to an audience that may be underserved in terms of the arts. And so I'm really pleased that we're doing something a little bit different here and stretching how we're delivering the arts programs. We're also going to be updating our website to be user-friendly, and then further to that, the Richmond mobile app is going to be created so that you'll be able to do more of your work with the city on a mobile app. So a question to staff, who is this serving, the mobile app? Like, is it just the public, or does it have some functionality with our own staff? And then my second question is, yeah.
I'm sorry, through your worship to Councillor Liu. The app is going to be mirroring much of the capability that's been released to the residents and the public on My Richmond. And so its primary focus is to serve the constituents and residents and business operators of My Richmond. My Richmond continues to evolve in the services it provides, and the mobile app will also evolve and also take advantage of the capabilities of a mobile platform in doing things a little differently, such as being able to check in for a registration or for a recreation class at a community center.
Okay. And I think you had mentioned something else about maybe being able to take a picture and then it tags your location. And so if you see something that the city needs to attend to, that it'll be easier for people to make that report to the city. Was that another one of the functionalities as well?
Yes, through your worship to Councillor Liu. Yes, one of the components of My Richmond is a full customer relationship management system, which essentially we use to track all engagements with any residents or anyone reporting anything to the city, either a request for service or a comment. And so the mobile app will also extend that capability to a mobile platform. And then given the capabilities such as geolocation tagging and on-built or built-on camera, they can enhance what they are providing to the city with latitude, longitude, location details, as well as images and pictures they take of specific things that they want to include in their request.
Well, thank you. So it sounds like we're going to be serving people even better here in the city of Richmond as this moves forward. Thank you.
Councillor Day.
Thank you very much, Mayor Brody. Wanted to speak upon item 7, which is the 2022 feral rabbit update. I did have a question of staff. I understand that Rabbitats is one of many partners or contractors with the city. Is that true?
Through your worship to Councillor Day, Rabbitats is the only contractor currently engaged in feral rabbit management study, in feral rabbit management.
Oh, okay, because we got a letter from Teresa Murphy, and she said that the CEO, Tamara Vroom, issued a statement saying that since the hearing from the community, we've suspended culling and will be working with independent scientists, wildlife experts. So are they working independently at YVR from the city of Richmond?
Through your worship to Councillor Day, I am not familiar with that group, but I can speak with certainty that Rabbitats is the only contractor engaged by Parks.
Okay, well, thank you. I hope that the study will show exactly who is working on it, because it sounds like there's a difference between domestic and feral rabbits. And once an animal has lived on a park for like a week, is it now a feral rabbit versus let's say if a rabbit was friendly, why couldn't it be adopted out? I know it's because of the provincial rules, but how do we distinguish between the difference?
Through your worship to Councillor Day, it is our approach that a rabbit that is found on public property that is not kept in a hutch, in a home, following bylaws, fed by an owner, etc., is considered feral.
Okay, perfect. That kind of narrows it down. So will the city be lobbying the province to make it easier to adopt these rabbits? And then maybe we don't have so many people buying them and then, you know, giving them, dropping them off at the park later on.
Don't we wait for the study?
Yeah.
Through your worship to Councillor Day. Sorry, I was looking for my mouse. It went feral on my screen. Staff would need to receive direction from council with regards to a motion to be proposed to the UBCM. That said, in 2012, Delta put forward a motion with the UBCM, and it was passed and referred to the province regarding the spaying and neutering of rabbits being a requirement. And as I stated, it was moved forward to the province. It's our understanding that there was no action taken from that point. In 2010, the City of Richmond proposed another motion at UBCM suggesting the ban of sales of rabbits in all pet stores, and that was not supported by the UBCM, thus not put forward towards to the province. Of course, the city did pass a bylaw prohibiting the sale of rabbits in pet stores, of course, in our own community.
Good. Well, you know, I get more mail on rabbits than I do on police and fire put together. We've got to find a way to either educate the public or, I mean, a lot of these letters refer to them as European rabbits, domestic rabbits, and even though they're living out, you know, in parks or wherever. So I'm really looking forward to this report being done because I cannot believe how many people really, really care, one way or the other, about rabbits. The number 10 is the community center. We're naming the 3311 number 3 road new center, the Capstan Community Center. And I think that's a perfect name for that new community center because it'll give the people moving into that area an opportunity to learn about the rich history. And as we had heard earlier from Sea Island, there's a lot of history in that part of Richmond that has gone unnoticed for a very long time. Number 13 is authorization of award contracts for supply and delivery of computer equipment and related services. I sure wish some of that money could go into updating the system in this room and in council chambers because we have had more computer glitches here in the last 2 years than you can shake a stick at. Item number 15 is a temporary commercial use license for Beckwith Road. We're actually going to get some more parking over by the SkyTrain, so that'll be extremely useful. And then number 16 is the Richmond Heritage Commission report and program. I'm very excited that we got to meet some of the Sea Island folks tonight, and I'm looking forward to hearing what happens when they meet with the Heritage Commission, and I'm hoping that staff can keep us updated on the progress with that. Thank you very much. That's it for me.
All right. Those are all the speakers. So on the consent agenda, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. So that brings us to the 2 non-consent items. And I'll turn it over to Councillor McNulty, who is the chair of the Planning Committee.
Thank you, Worship. There are 2 matters on the agenda on planning tonight. The first item is an application by Art Homes for rezoning at 4400, 4420, and 4440 Smith Crescent from single detached RS1F zone to the high-density townhouses RTH1 zone. And the recommendation that came from the Planning Committee, Your Worship, was that the Richmond zoning bylaw 8500 be amended to bylaw 9877 for the rezoning of same addresses 4400, 4420, and 4440 Smith Crescent from the single-family detached RS1F zone to the high-density townhouses RTH1 zone it be introduced and given first reading, and I would so move.
So it's moved and seconded. Go
I
ahead.
really have nothing to add to this, Your Worship. This one is a new application out in the Hamilton area, and it will be a benefit, tremendous benefit to the Hamilton area and providing much needed housing in that way. And unfortunately, if you wish, in terms of development, the flood construction levels in the Hamilton have to be satisfied, and they are being that. And the area is going to get new public walkway from Smith Crescent from the site behind through as a right-of-way, and an overpass on Highway 91A. And so with that, it's straightforward. It's going to get 34 townhomes. Unfortunately, we're only going to get 3 suites out of it, but we're going to get much needed cash in various areas for the Affordable Housing Strategy program, where we can invest in other areas as well for housing. So
how much is the affordable housing contribution?
I believe it's 420,000 in change, probably
right.
421. So almost $500,000.
Okay, Councillor Day.
Thank you very much, Mayor Brody. I won't be supporting this. I didn't support it in Planning Committee. These are townhouses that are stacked together, one beside the other, very tall, very skinny, and 59% of them are going to have tandem parking. And if you look at the plan on, well, if you can look at, there's a number of maps on basically page 277 forward, you'll see just how crowded this complex is going to be. Not long ago, we had a delegation come in and complain about their townhouse complex, and they said to us specifically, why would you, council, design these? Every morning we go through a traffic gridlock trying to get in and out with our tandem parking, and everyone's trying to get out about the same time. This is a really crummy design, and I think we could do a lot better. On page 276, they're asking for a variance that allows for 59% tandem parking, and it's already mega crowded. So I think that this is not a good plan for this area. We're not getting enough rental housing, and I think we should refer it back so that we can take another kick at this can. It's a great area close to a park. It's an up-and-coming area with new businesses coming in. This deserves another second look. I will not be supporting it. I'd like to refer it back.
Just before I go to Councillor Hobbs, I want to make it very clear that the tandem parking variance it's allowed under the bylaws, it's allowed 50%, and it's wanting to go to 59%. And also, the fact that it's near parks, you would think that'd be a good area for a family to be in. But the tandem parking doesn't crowd anything. It just makes more spaces for people to park their cars. So, Councillor Hobbs.
Thank you, and through the chair, I just have a few comments to make. And first of all, the affordable housing challenge or crisis is something we all talk about, and there's many pieces to solving it. There's not a one-size-fits-all solution. There is no magic solution. So we have to address things like homelessness, senior housing, housing for families, purpose-built rentals, subsidized rentals, market housing, market rental, and a lot of that has to fit under an umbrella of greater density. So it requires sound policy and analysis and then sound planning. So voting no on projects like this is fine if that's what you want to do, but voting no has repercussions. It delays everything and it adds costs to projects. We have rules, we have policy, we have bylaws, we have regulations. And when people comply with those and do everything that we require of them, yes, we should have a second look when it's appropriate, we should ask for more when it's appropriate, and we do that. But in the end, if they are in compliance, then we also shouldn't act arbitrarily or capriciously. If we want to change policy regarding something like the density, then we should change it, reduce it, or increase it. Most of the discussion now is around increasing policy in certain areas. So I would encourage Council to support this project because it does in fact comply with everything that we have asked to date, and it complies with our own rules with one minor variance to the tandem parking. Projects like this are part of the solution for the affordable housing crisis that we face. The minister responsible for housing, David Eby, has made that very clear. He's made it very clear that supply is an issue and that, in his words, we need a construction boom. It's not the only part of the solution, but it is an important part of it with our growing population. Delay or rejections or referrals back have costs, even if it ultimately goes ahead. And you can see a big hole at the Atmosphere site right now. If you take a modest project, say about $13 million, borrowing that money is going to cost about $45,000 a month, depending on the terms that you get. It's going to be about $540,000 a year. Banks loan money to people and they expect a return on that investment. So when you do a project, you're probably going to be looking at a 13 to 15% return or profit. You have to have that or you can't borrow the money. So a delay affects people's ability to borrow money. People aren't paying for the projects out of their own pocket, no matter how wealthy they are. And a lot of developers are small developers that move on from one project to another small project. So I just want to be clear that delaying does have a cost. With this particular development, there are some positive things. There's a $323,000 plus contribution to the Hamilton Amenity Fund. There's a $420,000 plus contribution to the Affordable Housing Fund. There's private space, outdoor space for each unit. There's a class 1 and 2 bicycle parking, $40,000 to the Public Art Reserve, and 34 units, townhomes, that, as mentioned, include some universal housing as well as a couple suites at street access. So the tandem parking is an issue, but tandem parking is also a characteristic of high density housing. So if we want high density housing, there are going to be some things that go with it, and tandem parking is a very common feature of higher density housing. So also the floodplain factors into it, which you've heard. So in the end, although it might not be perfect and it might not be everything that everybody wants, I think it's important to point out that affordable housing comes in many different forms. This is one that provides places to live for young people starting out or people who perhaps can't afford to pay $1.5 to $2 million for an old lot in Richmond. It is the way that we are going. There will be places with higher density. And so I think this is one of those places. It has met all our requirements with a minor variance, and I'll be supporting it. Thank you very much.
Okay, Councillor Wolf.
Thank you, Your Worship. A few comments to make here. Just also want to clarify, Councillor McNulty, I think he referred to this having 3 extra suites in addition to the townhouses. That's the next item on the agenda.
Yeah.
This one that we're discussing right now is just the 34 townhouse units.
Perfectly correct. Yeah, Councillor McNulty stands corrected on that.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just share a few comments here. One is, construction booms are needed, but rental construction booms. There's a highlight story being circulated around Canada right now, and it targets Richmond, and it's called Affordable Housing Hard to Find in Richmond, BC, as residents watch the condo construction boom. This type of project is not going to be the ones where young people get their first units to live in by buying these pricey townhouse units. Anyhow, maybe I'll be stand corrected. I want to just highlight a couple of things, and I have few questions. So I did attend the planning meeting, but I have a few things that weren't discussed there. I'll share now. So these three properties, yes, they're right across from a park that I'm very familiar with. And there's some great features of this project. I'd like to highlight some of those. So there's going to be 11 trees retained on site. And they did a great job of the layout. Looking on page 296 is kind of a good image for it. It's all 297 is about trees on the opposite page. But you can see the layout where they've actually, they did two great things. One is in the back of the property, they've left a number of trees to provide the buffer. Anyone who lives near Highway 91 or the connector to Queensborough knows how loud the vehicles are. Yes, the city of Richmond is asking people not to use their Jake brakes or the big engine brakes, but on provincial highways they can, and they do regularly. And so any way we can keep the existing trees is excellent. So this developer has it right in that regard. They also decided to have an outdoor amenity space and choose the location where they can retain trees. That's something we often don't see from townhouse developments. They like to wipe it clean and start from scratch. So two real wins, I think, in this development. A third one, on the south side of this development, there's going to be a city right-of-way, a trail for Hamilton residents or any resident to access the trail in behind this property, which leads to the pedestrian overpass, where you can go over to the Hamilton Highway Park, where there's also a major construction boom going on that side, much closer to Queensborough as well. So I think that's a great thing that was negotiated in this development, that there would be a way for people to active living, recreation, connect to some of these great corridors in the area. Now I'll just speak on some other aspects of the project. There's 46 trees that will be lost. Yes, 11 retained, but 46 lost. You can see where they are on page 297, as I mentioned before. And because of our tree protection bylaw, yes, they have to replace the 2-for-1 ratio, but they're not. They're only putting 41 trees on site, and then they're given some cash for the 51 other ones to go and do their thing elsewhere. So I don't think that especially in a site where you're going to have that highway sound and pollution, you want the barrier of trees. So that should have been incorporated into this development. If you look on those pages that I've referred you to, you can see one of the ways they could do this. You can see on 296 in the upper right corner, that sixth unit of the building number 6, so it's in the back right corner. If they didn't build that, they could have that more trees that run along the back of the property, buffering with the highway. So I would like this to be referred back and see if there's a way to have that last unit removed, and then they can either, if as the staff report says, the trees are dying, so they have to be removed. But at least you keep the soil there where you can actually get big trees to grow again, and they won't have to give us cash for the 51 trees they can't fit, because there'll be room to fit some. And maybe then they could even have some of those existing trees stay there and be adjacent to the right-of-way, right? Rain cover, provide a shade and all the other things that these people are going to now be subjected or not subjected to. They're going to have the sound, the pollution, and the bright sun during heat waves of the future. Almost done. A couple of things here. Let me see here. Okay. This is around the funds. So this project will lead to $324,000 going to the Hamilton Amenity Fund. But again, I think we need to have that earmark to provide the services and the community amenities for the people in this area. And then in the report, it also mentions that there's $88,000 going to a citywide amenity fund. And I appreciate that. The city has great projects all over the place, and people in Hamilton do go and use them. But Hamilton is cut off from the rest of the city and 15 kilometers away. Could we could we not, in this situation, incorporate that 88,000 into the Hamilton Amenity Fund so that it actually goes to the area that is being impacted?
Yeah, Councillor Wolf, can you wrap her up, please? You're way over time.
Okay. Could staff comment on that? So that's the 88,000 for citywide amenity fund. Could a referral or amendment be made now to actually direct that to the Hamilton Amenity Fund?
Through your worship to Councillor Wolf, the $88,000 in question is cash in lieu of providing indoor amenity space on the development site. Council policy is where those funds are provided, they're put into the amenity fund, which is used to upgrade city community centers. In terms of directing those funds specifically to the Hamilton Community Center, I believe that would be at council's prerogative. However, it would be inconsistent with the existing established policy, which is that those funds are deposited into a citywide account.
Oh, okay, great. Much appreciated for that. Thank you. And those are all my comments. So I'll wait for a referral or what comes next. Thanks.
All right. Councillor McPhail.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have a question through you to staff. I watched the video of the Planning Committee meeting, and staff was asked about the tandem parking. And I think, Mr. Craig, I think you said that the City of Richmond's floodplain bylaw requires that habitable area be significantly above grade. Tandem parking is a commonly used application to achieve the floodplain requirements. Could you explain what that means, please?
Through your worship to Councillor McPhail, throughout the city, as Richmond is located in a floodplain, we do specify minimum flood construction levels for habitable space in new developments. Within the Hamilton area, the minimum flood construction level is 3.5 meters geodetic. The existing street level fronting this site is approximately 1.5 meters geodetic. So the first habitable space of the building must be approximately 2 meters above existing grade. By locating the parking at grade and placing the living space on the second level, we are able to ensure that the project meets flood construction level, that the only use at the ground floor is the parking of vehicles, storage of bicycles, and some limited mechanical equipment associated with the townhouse units.
All right, thank you for that. Now, with the variance requested, there'll be 40 spaces that are tandem parking in arrangement. And what are the other parking spots? Are they side by side?
Through your worship to Councillor McPhail, yes, there are a total of, give me a moment here. The existing bylaw would allow for 17 of the proposed units to have tandem parking. This project has 20 units with tandem parking, so the variance facilitates 3 additional units with a tandem arrangement.
But the other ones then, the ones that are not tandem, will have side-by-side parking? Okay,
through your
that's
worship
good.
to Councillor McPhail, that is correct.
So it's my understanding that units that have side-by-side parking are typically larger units because they're built over the side-by-side. So by having a mix of side-by-side parking and tandem parking, you're going to get different sized units. You're going to have a range of housing choices that are available to the public. And so there will be some that are more affordable than others. And I think that's a good thing, that we're providing choice for the public to have a look at. I'll be supporting this. Thank you.
Councillor Howe.
Your Worship, I have 2 questions to staff. Now, in the report and also on attachment 3 on page 277 about land use, I want to confirm that the present proposal is already the maximum use of the land.
Through your worship to Councillor Al, yes, the development is providing the maximum density in accordance with the Hamilton area plan.
So in other words, there's no other alternatives that can be offered in order to get more units or more other types of buildings to the public, to the buyers.
Through your worship to Councillor Rao, any additional density would require an OCP amendment to be considered as in conjunction with the rezoning application.
So something like apartments won't be possible.
Through your worship to Councillor Rao, that would be inconsistent with the area.
Okay, and my second question is, now, if we do not grant the variance in relation to the tandem parking, what will be the impact? Are we talking about less units could be built?
Through your worship to Councillor Rao, in all likelihood, yes, there would be less units involved.
So can you estimate how many more units would be reduced? 1, 2, 3?
Through your worship to Councillor Rao, it would be very difficult as it would require a redesign. Having said that, the variance allows 3 additional units, so you'd be looking at potentially a reduction in 2 to 3 units.
Okay, very good. Well, I mean, based on the staff's answers to my 2 questions, I think this is already the best use of the land. There's no other alternatives that we can apply so that we can have other forms of buildings or higher density of the buildings. And I agree that this may not be perfect in terms of design and land use and parking and other things. But if we turn this down, make it back to fewer units, literally, we are also cutting back the supply, which is also a reason for one of the reasons for the increase of housing prices. So I think it's unreasonable to refer this back to the applicants, and also to ask them to consider something different. So I would be in support of the current recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Liu.
Thank you, Worship. I think we've been looking at this for a while. You know, it's 3 houses right now, and it's going to go potentially to 34 townhouse units. And I know we've been talking a lot over the last several years about affordability and the need for more housing. And, you know, I've heard some councillors want to hold up projects to get more units in them, and now I'm hearing some councillors want to hold up this project to have fewer units in it. So I'm finding it strange a little bit. I think we need to create more housing. We also need to do it in a measured way so that, you know, we're not suddenly popping up a big tower in what still has single-family homes in it. I think we need to work with the neighborhood to build something that makes sense for it. And I think this particular one does make sense. I don't think sending it back is going to make it any more affordable. I think redrawing adds cost to it. When you have to redraw your plans, that adds cost to it. When you take more time, that adds cost to it. And just adding how much more staff time when our staff has worked with them. How long has this project been going back and forth with staff? Like, when was the first application of this?
Through your worship to Councillor Liu, this application was submitted to the city in late August of 2019.
Okay, so it's been a number of years that staff has been working hard with the proponent on this. You know, I think if we want to change rules around parking, whether it's tandem or not, that's a separate discussion. But I live in a townhouse and my garage isn't enclosed, and I would love an enclosed garage. And I definitely prefer a tandem parking situation over having my cars and bikes in a parkade with common access. I like the idea of being able to have my stuff safe, secure, and, you know, use my garage how I see fit. And I think the people moving in here, they'll have the choice that they can buy the side-by-side ones, they can buy tandem ones, and they can buy what's affordable to them and what makes sense for their life. And so I'll be supporting this project.
Councillor Steves.
Yeah, thanks. I'll be supporting it too. I agree with Councillor Wolf. I think we need more trees. However, that's not a reason to hold this one up. I think we've done as good as we can in that regard. I really want to concern about the tandem parking. And for those, I don't think any of you were in council when we did the first development like this in the Hamilton area. decades ago. And we came up with this idea of utilizing the space that would take that 3 meters of space. Instead of putting 3 meters of fill in, we decided to use it for parking. And it's worked very well. And in terms of tandem parking, if you watch the afternoon news, the 5 o'clock news, I guess, between meetings tonight, because of the war in the Ukraine and because of the price of gas going up, people are buying bicycles, people are taking transit, and because of COVID, people are continuing to work from home. And I go back far enough that when I was a youth, our family and all other families only had one car per family, and the rest of us would take transit. And I think we're going back to this now because people can't afford cars and can't afford the high price of fuel and traffic and everything else. And people are now going for transit and going for electric bikes and all kinds of other things we didn't have 60 years ago. So the more we can encourage the people to get rid of their cars, then that's so much the better. And if it's tandem parking that's going to do it, well, so be it. I think it's not a great handicap to have tandem parking and a little less costly of a housing unit. And it may well attract families that only have one car, and because you don't have to have two, and therefore people with just one car will buy these units. People with two cars will buy the larger units if they got the money to do it. So I think it's a great plan. Could have a few more trees, but in terms of the tandem parking, I think that's one way of reducing the traffic on our roads. If we can encourage people to get down to one car and electric bikes or public transit or whatever, I think that's the future.
All right, Councillor Day, you have your hand up again. Is there something new?
I'd like to make a motion to refer this back, and I have more reasons for that referral back that I didn't get into in the beginning.
Is it seconded? So it's moved and seconded to refer this back to staff.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Okay, so on page 274, we've got an aerial view of the area, and it goes from Gilly Road.
This is on the merits of referral.
Yes, yes.
Not on the merits of design.
Exactly. We have an opportunity with these 3 lots being as large as they are and right across the street from a park to create something that could be almost like a city center, not a city center area, but a hub for that neighborhood. And we could put taller, if we made these same adjustments that we did on Gilly Road on Westminster Highway, which is where there's high density apartments and shops, and I think there's a senior center over there as well, seniors housing for people who need extra help. I mean, we would be able to create another hub, just like that one over by Gilly, which is right across the street from the East Richmond Community Center, Hamilton Community Center. If we were to do this right, we could put all of the housing closer towards Smith Road, have more of a forest in the back, and utilize that park better. So I think it's an opportunity for the redesign to not only get more housing and better parking situation and a more beautiful project, because this is just a crowded, I think it's going to be tomorrow's ghetto. And I think we could do so much better if we potentially change the zoning and allow for more compacted buildings that could be not spread out over the whole property, but concentrated on Smith Road, which would give a better quality of life. It'll be more aesthetically appealing and a better buffer for the neighborhood.
On referral, I have a question of staff. Mr. Craig, if I understand you correctly, if this got referred back for any of the reasons that we talked about, basically trees or parking, I think you said it would require a redesign. Is that correct?
Through your worship, yes.
All right, so how long do you think that would take at the very least?
Through your worship, the amount of time taken to address a redeferral is dependent on the applicant's team in order to redesign. So it's hard to provide a specific timeline, as I do not know how busy the architect, landscape architect, consulting engineers are. In terms of a ballpark estimate, I would say you're looking minimum 4 to 6 months to get back to planning committee with a redesign.
That's a minimum. Now, this complies with the official community plan, right?
Your worship, that is correct.
You see, the province keeps talking, Minister Eby keeps talking about the delays in development. And we talk about whether that's the city's fault or whether that's the applicant's fault. But one of the ideas that they have promoted quite actively is that if a project complies with the official community plan, then we don't, then it's basically automatic and it goes through. And there's no public hearing. And so what the suggestion is to refer back for at least 3 to 6 months, and my guess is that for a year, and a project that has been on the books since 2019 for what is, in the total scheme of things, not the most radical change, frankly. As one councillor said, a few more trees, and there's all the issues around the tandem parking, which is only a variation from 50%, which is allowed, to 59% allowed. So there's no way I'm going to support this referral. I think this epitomizes the problems that the province has talked about. And if Minister Eby were here today, I believe he would tell us to get on with this. That's my feeling. I'm not supporting this. Councillor Hobbs.
Thank you, through the chair. Yeah, just on Minister Eby, they are also talking about additional legislation to do what you just described. So I don't think we want to have a situation where we force the provincial government to make legislative changes that take this kind of decision less in our hands and put it more in their hands. But I do have a question for staff just on the concept of moving things around, and I'm a little confused maybe between greater density or moving things around and having more green space. So I thought I read in this and heard in the various discussions, including at planning, that this is the maximum density allowed for this particular site according to the Hamilton area plan. So more density, is that even possible?
Through your worship to Councillor Hobbs, yes, this is in accordance with the Hamilton area plan. Any density beyond what is proposed would require an OCP amendment to be considered in council or in association with the rezoning application.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Au.
Well, my question is similar. Now, we envision something different from what is being recommended here. In this case, talking about a new hub or new city center kind of development, it will involve the OCP revision. And am I right in supposing that this will take longer than 6 months? And it will involve more than just new drawings. It's really a new kind of land use.
Through your worship to Councillor Al, in terms of creating a hub as it was referred to in this area, that would be a significant departure from the existing Hamilton area plan. Staff would not recommend a one-off amendment to the area plan to achieve that. We would be looking at a comprehensive review of this area plan as we would need to reassess the site servicing requirements, the overall city utilities within the Hamilton area plan, pump stations, drainage stations. We would also need to re-investigate the amount of parkland provided in the Hamilton area in order to maintain the population to park ratio. And the Hamilton amenity funds would also need to be reviewed as the amenity contributions received are geared to support the population base, which is envisioned under the current Hamilton area plan.
Thank you. Yeah, in that case, I won't support sending it back to staff. I think this will take much longer than just being mentioned, and it will be not only a problem, a pain for the developer. I think it's also a pain for the potential buyers or people who want to move into these new homes. So I won't be support sending this back for this reason.
Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Interesting discussion tonight. I won't be supporting referring it back, Your Worship. You know, it's great if we wanted to change things, we should have done it at committee or when staff announced that this was taking place there. We're assuming the developer can handle this. And when I look at this, has almost been 3 years in the making to get it this far. The developer would have had to have a mortgage on it and borrow from the bank. I think one of the councillors said that earlier. We're going to redesign it in another year to build it and have being on tap in the banquet. And where's this all going? It's not affordable housing we're promoting by delaying, Your Worship. It's more expensive housing at the other end because the person that's going to come along to try to buy it, all these delays and these expenses that we're putting back on the developer is added to the person at the end. So instead of a $700,000 home, now we're at a $900,000 home, and it's not affordable. You know, you mentioned it earlier, and I got to give Minister Eby credit when he wrote his paper. The faster we can get this through our planning department, the faster we can get it to the public hearing on it, the more reasonable those units will be to the people who are trying to buy them. And, you know, you wonder why homes, when it's 3 years, Your Worship, 3 years, maybe 4, you know, we're just adding the cost to the other side. And we could ask the developer, would you be interested in redesigning the committee? And we're doing everything we can. And this is much needed housing in Hamilton. Hamilton is a very booming community and a very great community to live. And anything we can do to support them out there. As a matter of fact, one of these homes was built in 1945. I took photos of it. It was an 800 square foot home. It was a war home for the veterans coming back, and they were able to pick it up for $1,000 those days with a mortgage. So I think we have to be careful. We talk about supply and demand, and we may be cutting our nose off and spotting our face, and we wonder why developers are not doing rental, whatever. We've got to look at our policies to try to go quicker on it to save money, if you wish, for those to buy it. The longer we take, the better off we are. So I can't support it under the thing. I think staff have done a great job in getting everything that we could for it. And I'm hoping that this will go through.
All right, so on referral, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And those opposed? There was Councillor Day, Councillor Wolf in favor, everyone else was opposed. So it's defeated. And I'm going to call the question on the main motion. All those in favor? Just a minute. Councillor Day, have you got your hand up again?
I didn't.
What's up?
Well, there you go. Now we know how to raise your hand. Okay, so on the main question, on the main motion, all those in favor? Any opposed? It is carried with Councillors Day and Wolf opposed. All right, Councillor McNulty.
The next item, Your Worship, is an application by Terra Spires Development LP for rezoning at 8740, 60, 80, and 8800 Spires Road, and the surplus portion of the Spires Road allowance from a single detached RS1E to parking structure townhomes PT4. The recommendation was that the zoning bylaw 8500 and amendment bylaw 10357 for the rezoning of 8740, 8760, 8780, and 8800, I should say, Spires Road, and the surplus portion of the Spires Road allowance from single detached RS1E to parking structure townhomes PT4 be introduced and given first reading, and I would so move.
So that's moved and seconded. Did you want to address it?
Yeah, just quickly, Your Worship. This one, again, staff have done a great job. 36 townhomes. I apologize. This one is the one that gives 3 secondary suites with common parking structure access off Spires Road. We're going from 4 homes in an older area to 36 townhomes, an increase of 32. And I think they've, again, this one has been in the hopper for quite some time. We're getting amenities on it. We're getting even on this one in the area where I think there should be more density, to be quite frank with you, but I'm willing to support this one because it is off Cook. It's in the gate area, and you can't put apartments in multi-family areas of greater density in there. It has to be in the interior. We're getting a commitment to the meeting this city step code, to step code 3 for energy construction as part of the construction. I think it's good. We're getting affordable housing money again, not as much in this case. We get a different rate, but 357,000 and change. Public art contributions, and we talked about art earlier. So, and we're doing a bit of road dedication here. It's coming along, and that will make it a little easier for the development. I think given where it is, I think that's what we have to do for townhomes, and I'm hoping when staff come back with the May report, we will see some additional density in the interior and the other areas on it. So I'll be supporting it, and for the same reasons, I don't think we can continually start holding up. Townhomes is one of the best-selling items within the community that people are able to, in some cases, afford, and the longer we delay these kinds of developments, the cost is at the other end, and that's to the purchaser. So I'm hoping that this one will go forward and hopefully be completed in a year to build out, and we've got 36 families in that area.
Okay, Councillor Wolf.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to refer this back, but I'll make some comments now. Anyhow, I did attend the Planning Committee meeting, and I heard all the discussions on it. So staff have clarified again that the rental housing report that they're working on will come back in May or June to Council. And I ask that this be referred back until after that. So we're not talking about a 6-month delay. We're talking about maybe a 2-month pause on it, because what we're doing here is a bit of a piecemeal style. And I heard something there. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of benefits to waiting and unifying the strategy and plan for this area, not to let one developer get by without contributing the necessary amenities that we'll probably be learning about in that report. A few other points about this development. Sorry, I'm hearing some sounds. One of them is electrification. I think Spires area should be an electrified residential area, meaning that there should be no natural gas hookups to these buildings, and that I'd like to have staff come back. I know they're working on the solar energy connections and how that could apply to townhouses. That's another referral we're waiting on. You look at also at this development, and it has 21 trees being lost and 1 retained, and the 2-to-1 ratio, they can't even fit half the trees on this property. So like was mentioned in the last item, maybe densifying or going up a little higher than the townhouse goes allows more land to be set aside for green space, for shading features of the buildings. And then the other aspect to that, there is some properties that are going to go to park space in the Spires area, but I don't think it'll be enough. We don't even know what the full build out is going to be and the density, and we might be making changes to what we think it is right now once we hear from staff and the rental housing report. This is like what a location to to I think, squander or fail by not densifying and providing the rental tenure to these types of projects. And I think this 2-month delay is not going to be a make or break for this project. There's clearly a lot of wins for a developer to get it by with the contributions that are listed in this report. But I think council has, with due diligence, can do a lot better for the community. Thank you.
Councillor Hobbs.
Thank you, through the chair. The Spires Road, the Spires neighborhood area is an interesting one. It's been in transition, I think, ever since I was a teenager, which is only a few years ago. But that transition is clearly underway, and high density and low density townhouses, I think some have been approved and are in process right now. So I will admit that when I read this report, I too had concerns about this project in terms of the referral that we have in process right now regarding higher density in the area, because I think there's a lot of support for that. But I would like staff to explain in a fairly robust way why it is that this project and a couple of the other projects that are more on the periphery of the Spires Road neighborhood and on the gates, how it is and why it is that these projects actually will integrate in with what's being done there now, what's planned there now, but also with any potential greater density in terms of perhaps 6-story buildings. My understanding is that that actually is something that has been considered in the process already, and I'd like to feel comfortable and confident about going forward and having what's proposed here tonight integrating into what might happen further down the road.
Through your worship to Councillor Hobbs, if I could refer council to page CNCL 320. There have already been to date 2 approvals for stacked townhouses in this immediate area. This project would complete the block along Spires Road between Spires Gate and Cook Gate with the consistent stacked townhouse form. In terms of the ability for that form to integrate with future developments should the area plan be changed, there would be no issue with that, as this site is segregated from the rest of those areas by intervening roads. With respect to the ongoing land use referral, the applicant is fully aware of the land use referral and the intent to look at additional density for the provision of income geared rental. They have elected to proceed in accordance with the current city center area plan designation of stacked townhouses.
Just a couple more points, and so like my interpretation of that is that it is consistent with what has happened, and it will integrate well into what might happen if we increase the density that may be planned for that area. Kind of a rhetorical comment there. Now, just a couple other comments, if I might, through the chair. So this project, as we've heard, I think it's 36 units, 3 basic universal housing units, and 3 units with secondary suites at street level. And there's an affordable housing contribution. And so I think a project like this does address the affordable housing issue that we're facing, albeit incrementally. And as I've said before, I don't think any project is going to solve it in and of itself, no matter how big the project is. The outdoor amenity space exceeds the requirements, which is interesting to me, and that seems like a positive. The public art reserve benefits by over $36,000, and the affordable housing reserve by almost $358,000. And there's also some site servicing for sewers, which is a benefit. So one question to staff is, I'd just like an explanation as to how the affordable housing reserve is used in terms of leveraging further projects, because I've heard these amounts of 350 or 400,000 described as small amounts. I don't find them to be small amounts, and I think the cumulative effect that they have with different projects going into the affordable housing reserve is then leveraged by the city with other stakeholders to produce some very worthwhile projects. And I won't name them because I could get them wrong, but you can name them. And I'd just like a brief explanation, because 300 here, 400,000 there, 200,000 there, it actually is big money. It accumulates and we leverage it for very strategic, worthwhile housing options. Am I wrong on that?
Your Worship, perhaps I can respond to that through you to Councillor Hobbs. Yes, the cash in lieu funds are very important. They are collected, accumulated, and then invested in housing projects that the city is involved with. Some examples are, of course, the Stories site, which was a city-owned site. Another is the Kiwanis site, and there are currently others under consideration. So the smaller projects that provide cash in lieu, they fund a lot of those projects. In both of the cases that I mentioned, the city contribution, cash contribution, in addition to the site, was in the order of $20 million. And much of that money came from these types of cash contributions. And the city funds that are accumulated are then used to secure provincial approval and provincial funding. So in the examples that I gave you, the $20 million that the city chipped in was then, it wasn't just matched, it was exceeded by, a ratio of 3 or 4 times. So this is important money, and when it's received, it's well applied.
Sure, and through your worship, I'll wrap with a quick comment. The Affordable Housing Reserve, I just think is amazingly well done. And I will give credit to past councillors and past councils and staff who implemented that, because I certainly had nothing to do with it, but I'm a big fan of it. So the last thing I'll just mention are 2 policies that we did bring into play since I've been on council, and I think they impact every development we look at, including the previous one discussed and this one. And that is when we brought in a policy that stratas can no longer restrict new developments according to age, and that they cannot restrict purchasers from renting out their unit. I think those are 2 very important policies, and I think that they also contribute to the affordable housing solutions, even though in and of themselves they're not the magic solution, but I think they both help. And I think it's very important for us to remember that we did that, because in this development, it will be a benefit, as it will be in every development going forward. So thank you very much.
All right. Councillor Steves.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. The reason I voted against this, and still will, is that I really think it should be densified more. I think it's great that we get these funds for affordable housing, but wherever we can, the affordable housing should be within the development itself. And what I like about this one is they have 3 secondary suites. What I don't like about it is they should have more secondary suites. And if they had more secondary suites, then I think you'd have more affordable housing within this particular development. And under our bylaws, as I understand it, when we come up with rezonings, we can ask for more secondary suites, and that's what I would have wanted to have done.
Okay. Councillor Au.
Yes, Worship. I want to start with a fundamental question. Now, we know that we have a study going on, and then we may have recommendations to densify this area, or this area applicable to this site in about 2 months. And assuming that that recommendations is approved by council to densify, will the developers still have the option not to go for it? Can it still say, no, I don't want to densify, I just want to go along with my previous application? Are they being forced to take a better choice, so to speak?
Through Through the chair to Councillor Al, perhaps I can deal with that one. The specific nature of the recommendations is yet to be determined. We anticipate that we're going to bring that referral to committee in May. So it's a little early to say whether they would be compelled to utilise the density. What I would say is that would be unusual. That's not typically how we prepare the plans. I think that Mr. Craig earlier mentioned or spoke to how this development is going to fit in with neighbouring developments. And if you were to add height and density on this site, I think that you would have some built form issues, some design issues. I think also the thing that you need to keep in mind is this development fully meets the current area plan. And there was a lot of time invested in that plan. What we have is a referral, and it's premature to predict whether, in fact, council as a whole will want to make any changes to the area plan. That's to be determined. And if you do, it will take 2 months for us to bring you the referral, but it will take a considerable period of time after that to actually put the bylaws in place. And then this site would have to redevelop. So what I'm saying is you're not talking about a 2-month delay. You're talking about many, many months. And but Councillor Howe, it's just too early to say whether we will compel developers. I mean, ultimately, council could, as a collective, by refusing to rezone at a lower density, but there's just too many variables for me to predict whether that would happen.
Very good. Yeah, my perspective is that, yes, the developer is aware of the possible changes, and they are also aware of the so-called potential benefits to them, and they still choose to go ahead right now with the possibility that they may lose some of the benefits they can have in the future. So I think there's no reason for us to force them to wait. And if they're given the choice in the future, they may still choose to do the same thing, the same way. So I think it would be unfair to the applicant if, we force them to wait for the report and then the further approval process. I think it would just take too long. So I won't support any delay in this project. And staff also mentioned that probably, even with the new changes, there won't be too many things that could be changed for this site. So I would support the current recommendation.
Okay, Councillor Day.
Thank you very much, Mayor Brody. So we've been referring to the referral, so let's see what it actually says. To direct staff to consider density bonuses in the Spires Road area to facilitate new multifamily developments that include a mix of strata housing, market housing, and income-controlled rental.
Councillor, there has been no referral motion made.
No, I'm reading on page CNCL 309, the Council Planning Committee referral motion that's already been passed that we will see in 2 short months, which specifically includes a mix of strata housing, market rental, and income-controlled rental. And staff is undertaking an economic analysis of density bonusing and inclusionary zoning to determine the requirements for market rental. This is a great motion that Planning Committee made, and this is going to totally change the area. We have an option of building 34, probably $2 million townhouses, or something far more significant. We can make a real difference in this area, and I know we can't do it one development is going to solve the housing crisis, but we cannot let a single opportunity slip through our fingers where we don't maximize the use of very, very, very important land. We have to look at the benefit versus the cost, and we need way more creative options if we're going to get out of this housing crisis. We could build affordable housing, market rental housing, condos, all in this area on this property. And, there's already high rises, I just want to remind you, on the east side of Garden City Road. So it's not unimaginable that there could be higher density right here on Spires. And if we don't build more affordable apartments or condos, and maybe build another level of parking underground, as we are over at Richmond Center, for example, we're missing out. We're going to make 34 couples happy with their $2 million townhouses. Instead, we could make a significant difference and deal with this housing crisis. So I'm going to support Councillor Wolf's motion to refer this back for 2 months so that we can see what the report says, because I think we're going to find it says we're not getting into a housing crisis, we're in a housing crisis, and we have to take advantage of every single thing. And yes, on page 310, it does say that the applicant is aware of the planning study and the potential that original density might be considered. You know what? It's a gift for them. It's a gift for the people who are selling these properties, and it's a gift for the people that will move into these properties down the road. It's a win-win-win situation. And the most important rules of real estate are location, location, location. Let's get this right. It's too important to push forward.
Councillor McPhail.
Thank you, Your Worship. It is true we are waiting for a referral report, which was made at the October 21st, 2021 Planning Committee. And this referral was made in response to a report, which itself was a referral response from a 2019 report. So I do not believe we should be presupposing what the anticipated report will or will not highlight or recommend. There are many scenarios that could happen, and it could well be referred back again. In the report tonight, staff advised that this redevelopment proposal is consistent with the 2041 Official Community Plan Land Use Map designation for the site, which is neighborhood residential. At Planning Committee and tonight, Councillor Hobbs asked staff how this application fits into the current area plan, and staff said that the development pattern proposed is consistent with the development pattern that has already been established to the west. And staff at Planning Committee said that they do not see any issue with the fit of this development and the outcomes of the referral report. I recently drove through the Spires area, and I agree with staff. To the west of this application is a project of 3-story townhouses that is almost complete. To the north, right across the street from this application, is another development of 3-story townhouses. So this application fits very well into the emerging new character of this part of the neighborhood. And I agree with Councillor McNulty, this is not the area for more density. There will be other opportunities. At Planning Committee, we learned that this application has been in process for about 3 years. It will take approximately 2 to 3 years for units to come online. If this is referred back to wait for the report, and who knows what action will come out of it, and if the applicant decides to go ahead with the new plan, we are looking at approximately 6 years before units are available to be lived in. Because we know that in order to pursue additional density, a complete redesign of the project would need to be done by the developer. Why are we adding more time and cost to this application? And as we've been speaking about, we are in a housing crisis, folks. We know what Minister Eby said, and other economists and provincial and federal politicians are saying the same thing. We need to get more supply, every type of housing, onto the market. And just in my closing comment, we have a long history of grandfathering in-stream applications, and I'm supportive of this. And actually, this is really not grandfathering, as there has been no new policy under consideration or approved. I believe process and policy are important. This is a principle that the city has been working under, so I will support the recommendation in the package. Thank you.
Councillor Liu.
Thank you, Your Worship. I too will be supporting the application as it stands. I don't think holding it off is going to, I don't think it's going to be good for the neighborhood. I don't think it's going to be good for us as a city. I don't think it's good for anybody, really. As staff already mentioned, the density that's available now is based on what is there. So it's based on the elementary school that's nearby. It's based on the services that are available nearby. It's based on what the neighborhood already is becoming. So it is these stacked townhouses. It still is interfacing with existing single-family homes. So to suddenly plop in something huge there that's going to have a whole bunch of extra kids going to that school that is already a full school doesn't make sense. I think the policy that's in place when you put your application in should be the policy that you're judged on. I think, you buy a property, you have a vision of what you want to create. You want to create homes in a neighborhood for some people. You get your drawings done, you work back and forth with staff, and this one's been in the hopper since 2019. So another, 3 years they're already in. Sure, there's a referral coming back, but that referral's coming back to us in 2 months. Certainly, we're probably going to have some opinions on that referral. We're probably going to want to tweak that referral and add just a bit extra or make it this or add something else. And by the time that referral's done, this guy could be pushed back 3 years by the time he redesigns and starts over. And then there's maybe a council change. Like this developer could be dealing with everything. And meanwhile, it's time to redevelop those homes. If you've been there, the homes that are sitting there, they're falling apart. They need to be taken down. Something new needs to be put there. The whole neighborhood is in transition now. It makes sense to continue with it. I think staff had a vision, council had a vision when they first approved this area plan, and bringing it to fruition, it's still in the process of coming to fruition. And I think we should stick with the plan and do that.
All right. Councillor Wolf, do you still want to make your referral motion?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to make a referral that this be sent back and probably, I guess, go to the planning committee after the rental housing, I guess that's what we call it, the one listed on page 309. So to have this item sent back and then reconsidered at planning after the rental housing staff report.
All right, is it seconded? So it's seconded. I think you've spoken about it very fully. I just want to make the point that if we refer this back, although this point has been alluded to, I think it's really critical. You talk, well, it's only 2 months. Well, the fact is, if it's only 2 months, and it could involve a complete redesign, and presumably the applicant doesn't want that in the first place, but even if they did, you're now talking of a year or two. So again, I refer to the sentiments expressed by Minister Eby. Get on with it. Get on with it. If we think that the part of the answer to the housing crisis is more supply, then we can't be constantly referring back these items which are in full compliance with the official community plan. So I'm not supporting any referral. Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the what?
Got my hand up.
Oh, go ahead, Harold. On referral.
Yeah, on the referral, my comments are a little different than Councillor Wolf and Councillor Day. I don't think we need to refer it back to totally redo the plan. Just the way it is right now, we simply duplicate the 3 units that have secondary suites and have 2 or 3 times as many, and that wouldn't take a great deal of changes. And so, and that's why I voted the way I did at the planning committee, because I felt that was very easy to achieve without a major referral back. But to do that, you got to refer it back too. So we've got 2 ideas in the referral: one to redo the whole thing, and the other, which I would support, is to add extra secondary suites, which I think we could do quite easily.
Councillor Day.
Well, I agree that that's another idea. That's the whole point of referring it back. And I believe if Minister Eby was here today, he would say, whoa, hold on. We can do way more housing because you've already got density in that area. That's worth 2 months. That's what Minister Eby would say if he was here tonight. So of course I'll be supporting the referral back.
Well, he would say, if the applicant wants something, then maybe there's more density that could be allowed. But obviously the applicant doesn't want that. So all we're doing is kicking it back, and we're no further ahead than we are right now. It's time to get on with this. On the referral, all those in favor? So that's Councillors Wolf, Day, and Steves. All those opposed? That's everybody else. So then back to the main motion on the floor. All those in favor? Those opposed? It's carried with Councillors Wolf, Day, and Steves opposed. All right, that brings us to the announcements. First of all, the people have probably heard that there was a change in our mask policy for city facilities. And now the mask it's encouraged, but it's voluntary. And that was as of the end of last week. Also, announcement has been made that we're hoping that City Hall will be able to reopen on March 21st unless something comes from the provincial health officer or something. Then we have on public art, we have a call for artists. Richmond Public Art is seeking artists, designers, and other creative professionals for his roster of artists to provide original artwork for a variety of future opportunities. You've got a deadline on that one of March 21st, so go to our website for more information. We also have the UROC Awards. This is something that we have had for our youth for many, many years. Nominations for the annual UROC Awards are now open. The awards celebrate the achievements of youth and caring adults in Richmond. There are two categories: Outstanding Youth and Adult Asset Champions. So go to the city website or the Facebook page to nominate someone. Nominations on that one are going to close March 28th. And finally, on the Lulu Awards, the deadline for submissions for the Lulu Awards for Urban Design has been extended to March 31st. Nominate your favorite Richmond project that raises the bar for design excellence. There are 11 categories under building and open spaces, and all private and public sector projects are eligible. So for that one, go to richmond.ca/Lulu Awards and you will get more information on it. So we now go to the bylaws for adoption. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. There are 5 bylaws for final adoption with no noted opposition.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. And thank you. We are now adjourned.